when you wrote out a plan for
Correct.
what you wanted to do in the future.
So
You went somewhere.
right. So 2020 to 2019 to 2020, once I became a protected person, I needed a plan. So I was working for actually somebody who became a brother to me.
Okay.
His name is Eugene.
Okay.
Probably the only person in my life who I actually call friend aside from you, but more like a brother.
Okay.
I decided that it was time to take a break and figure out what I wanted to do. I went to Yellowknife,
Wow.
all the way up. And there's a place called Takiki Hot Springs where I actually sat there, negative 40-degree weather. And this is how I spend New Year's and Christmas, alone.
Okay.
And I wrote a vision of what I wanted to do in my life. This is Christmas 2019, January 2020, going into New Year's. Along that time, Christmas to New Year's. And I realized that the first thing I needed to do was I needed to get some kind of education, because I had, pretty much whatever I had was garbage.
Was that because you didn't think you were going to go into the things you had training for?
No, because I have a former certified financial planning, CPA, CWP, which is certified wealth management. I did study law, mortgage banking, real estate, underwriting, processing, funding, broking, Series 7.
Do you feel comfortable saying you graduated from high school at 15?
I do. I graduated from high school.
So there's an advanced thinking capability in your brain.
I don't know about advanced. I think I don't know if I'm smart. I'm just whatever you call it.
You're curious.
But I graduated from high school. I graduated from John Dewey High School in Brooklyn, New York. I call it Crooklyn. In 1995, I was 15. And I actually started Kingsborough Community College at the age of 15. I was the youngest child in college. I started college at the age of 15. My high school is John Dewey High School. My first high school was William Allen High School in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Second high school was John Dewey High School. That was the last year. Prior to that, I studied, I don't even remember how many high schools, because we moved every few months. We'll come back to the story about my father moved around.
We'll talk about this in the future.
22 countries we lived in. But John Dewey High School is where I graduated from. I was a class of 1995. I was supposed to get some kind of awards, except I did not show up to my graduation. I was playing hacky sack on the beach in Brighton Beach. I still remember the names of the girls I was with. Then I went to Kingsborough Community College. I was 15 at that time, pretty much playing hacky sack. But no, I mean, I've been blessed where, I get by.
So you're in Yellowknife, and you have gone there. I mean, you knew of Yellowknife because
I didn't. I just Googled it. I just looked at the furthest place I can go. So my whole thing is, so I suffer from ADHD.
Okay.
I realized later what it was. I didn't know I had it. I suffer from PTSD,
Okay.
which again I did not know what it was. I suffer from bipolar, which is weird because my diagnoses have come back BP1 and BP2. So for those of you that don't know anything about bipolar, it's a mood swing. Robin Williams, the famous actor, was bipolar.
Okay.
One day you're happy and one day you just want to jump off the balcony. And like literally you want to end your life. Brittany Murphy, there's a lot of actors that have bipolars and pretty much everybody have ended their life. So
It's hereditary?
Sorry?
Is it hereditary?
I'm not sure. I'm not a medical professional.
How did you first notice it?
When I went through a background check, when I enlisted in the services in U.S., I tried to enlist. I'll just say I enlisted in the Marines after 9/11, and we'll come back to revisit that story because I had a patriotic moment after 9/11. I wanted to serve the country, so I went into the Marines and I enlisted in the Marines, and I ran my background check, and that's when it came back bipolar.
So someone in your past history had diagnosed you.
Yes, it's no bipolar. Most people don't understand, but it's not something you can control. So the way I cope with it is I go for a really, really, really long drive. I just point the car in a direction. For me, when I was growing up at a young age, I tried to play piano. I tried to play guitar. Music was always my sanctuary, which kind of connected with me, with somebody, because that's where I synced in with that person, because music is where I found comfort and she finds comfort in music. Music has always been my escape, with the second thing being just getting in the car and driving, shutting everything off and just music and me, and then the open road. There's a lot of times where I've pointed the car from Burnaby, Vancouver, Surrey, and by the time I'm done, I'm in Pemberton or beyond, which is a 4-hour drive. Environment that I'm in, having the nonprofit, counseling, I come across a lot of people that have either PTSD, bipolar, ADHD, some kind of anxiety, it's the byproduct that I'm surrounded in. I'm surrounded in, like I said, this year, I've been a part of over 25 people that have literally died, and these people have literally sat there just like you're sitting and having a conversation with me, and tomorrow they're gone.
Disorder leads to addictions, or the addictions leads to the disorder?
Disorder leads to having to cope with something.
Okay.
The pain when you're going through pain, you look for remedies. Liquor could be one, pot could be one. It can go to the extreme of cocaine being one, heroin being one. There's many times where I've almost had a slip up where I've gone down that road. I mean, I'm not proud of it, but I've had slip ups where I've actually called the person and be like, hey, strong enough to be able to bounce back. But yeah, when you're suffering, you relate to something. When you're not suffering with any kind of diseases or anything, you find coping mechanism into music. Whether it's piano, guitar, drawing, photography, drawing something, painting, artist. But when you're suffering from bipolar or anything else, the pain, you need to do something extreme to numb your mind. There's literally nights where I've sat here and I've had paranoia attacks, and jumping from the balcony on the 50th floor seems like a much, having to go through demons that I deal with, because the pain gets so much that it's hard. So for anybody that's dealing with depression, bipolar, anxiety, anything, reach out. Best thing you can do.
You had this awareness, and you were living with this, and you did a search that took you to Yellowknife back then, soon after you got protective status, because you were trying to figure out what you were going to do with your life here in your new country.
I had a panic attack, and I started driving on Sea to Sky Highway. It wasn't planned. I just kept driving. I got in the car. My car's pretty much packed with everything you can think of, from beer bangers to snacks to survive in 3 weeks. I have enough snacks in my car that I can survive 3 weeks, to waters, to liquids, to beer bangers, to eggs, to wooden, I have tons of shit in my car. I got in the car. I had Christmas and New Year's off, and I just started driving on Sea to Sky Highway, and I ended up there by mistake. I had no plans to go there. And then when I found this place, I realized that this was a good place. There was nobody there.
In Yellowknife.
Nobody there. It was negative 40. And I realized this was the best place for me to sit down and write a vision of my life. So what I did is negative 40 degree. I found hot springs, and my hair were actually frozen when I came out of the water. Anyway, I spent a few days there, and I wrote down what I wanted to do, and my vision was that I needed to have some kind of degree, diploma, certification, something. I didn't know what it was going to be, to fall back on. Then I needed to find a job that paid me decent amount of money, the most expensive city in the world. I didn't know what the job was going to be, but my target was at least 50,000 plus, because before that I was making 25, 30, driving Uber Eats and everything. My third vision was that I want to open up a company. Now that I am a protected person, I can open up a company. So I wanted to open up some kind of business.
Build something.
I wanted to build something.